Thank you all for coming, and let's get started. It's good to see so many of you here today in person and to be able to connect again. It's been a long time. And given the world that we live in, the virtual world, we also have about 100 or more people who will be joining us throughout the day virtually. So this is about half of our crowd, and the rest of us are on the virtual world. The level of interest in this conference focusing on energy and decarbonization policies demonstrates the importance of the decisions we are making today that will impact our future for decades to come. I thank you all for participating, both live and virtually, to help us engage with policymakers and thought leaders on the need for sound energy policies that will benefit the business community and society as a whole. I also want to thank our speakers for participating. I am anxious to hear what they have to say and to learn from them. From a logistical perspective, given the number of speakers we have today and the limits on our time, I'm asking all speakers to do their best to stay on time. There will be not a countdown clock, but a count up clock in the back. And then hopefully my staff will give you the appropriate waves as necessary. We will break promptly at noon for lunch and then reconvene about 12:45. There are no other scheduled breaks, so if you need to leave the room for any purpose, please do so whenever you need to. And as I mentioned before, this is a hybrid conference, both in person and virtual. Now 6 of our speakers will be virtual. The rest will be here in person. I'm hoping that our IT folks could pull this off seamlessly. I'm told that they will. So I look forward to all of this working very well in the new world of in-live and virtual conferences. This conference, by the way, will also be recorded. And before I give my opening remarks and then begin the program, I want to first welcome Chrissy Buteas, NJBIA's Chief Government Affairs Officer, who will give a few remarks and acknowledge our speakers. Chrissy.
Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Ray. My name is Chrissy Buteas. I have the pleasure of serving as the Chief Government Affairs Officer at NJBIA. On behalf of our President and CEO, Michelle Sakirker, I'd like to welcome you here today. A special thank you to all of our speakers who will be joining us, as well as to our commissioners who we're going to hear from very shortly. Such a critical issue that we're going to discuss today, the future of energy and decarbonization and what the business perspective is. So really a very important subject matter. I'd be remiss if I didn't thank Ray, who I have the pleasure of working with, as well as the rest of the government affairs team and all of the NJBIA staff for putting today's conference together. A special thank you to our sponsors, though, and if you'll bear with me, I'd love to acknowledge them for a moment, because again, this conference would not be possible without their support. AmeriHealth, Association Member Trust, AT&T, Atlantic City Electric, Bank of America, Berkeley College, Bristol Myers Squibb, Connell Foley, ELEC 825, Fallstrom, Fidelity Investments, Fuel Merchants Association of New Jersey, Genova Burns, Georgian Court University, Hackensack Meridian, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield, IBEW Local 102, Investors Bank, Junior Achievement, New Jersey CPA Society, New Jersey Manufacturers Insurance Group, New Jersey Resources, NJIT, Orsted, Phillips 66, Piper Holdings, PSE&G, Sobel Company, South Jersey Industries, Spano Partners Holding, UPS, United Airlines, and Xterra. A special thanks to all of our sponsors. So without further ado, I'd like to turn it back over to Ray. I encourage you all to actively participate. And I know Ray runs a tight ship here, so I don't want to prolong my remarks. But a special thank you again on behalf of BIA for coming out today to discuss such a critical issue. And a special thanks to our commissioners here today as well. So thanks.
As the world leaders convene in Glasgow to discuss climate change and our response to it, I am reminded of the curse, may you live in interesting times. From an energy perspective, these are indeed very interesting times. Perhaps at no time since the start of the Industrial Revolution Fueled by the discovery of abundant carbon-based fuels such as oil and coal, have we faced so many profound policy choices and implications for humanity. Driven primarily by legitimate concerns of climatic impacts from carbon-based fuels, and accelerated by advocates and policymakers warning of an imminent 12 years to save the planet and irreparable harm to the planet, code red for humanity, the world has begun a process to decarbonize the energy sector. The goal of net zero carbon by 2050 is now the official policy of both the Murphy and Biden administrations. Others are pushing for even more aggressive policies, demanding the world immediately end its use of coal and become net zero carbon by as early as 2030. In our rush to eliminate coal, close nuclear power plants, stop pipelines, close natural gas plants, electrify everything, and build massive wind farms and solar facilities, we have failed to ask and answer some significant questions. I would argue that the answers to these questions will determine if, how, and when we meet our decarbonization goals. These questions include, but certainly are not limited to, how quickly do we act? Is it 12 years, now 10, to save the planet? Or do we have a longer period of time by which to make the most informed policy choices? If New Jersey does meet its goals, and even if the United States does, will have any measurable impact on climate, especially given the actions of such nations as China and India and the developing world looking to be modern? How much of a role should intermittent renewable sources of energy provide? And how do we maintain a reliable grid as they grow? Are batteries a viable backup power source for wind and solar? Or do we need some combination of nuclear and natural gas to serve as backup sources? Are we planning for this? Is carbon capture and sequestration a viable option? What role will nuclear play in a decarbonized future beyond merely keeping existing and aging plants in service until 2050? The answer to these questions, was an obvious omission from the state's 2020 Energy Master Plan. As we seek to electrify our building and transportation sectors, we will need to double and even triple our electrical demand. Where is that energy coming from? Even if it is feasible to electrify our building and transportation sectors, and if so, how can we do it and in what time frame? Reliability, resiliency, and efficiency concerns, together with a need to accommodate growing and disparate renewable energy sources, requires a massive upgrade of our transmission and distribution energy systems. Are we preparing for that? How will we handle our legacy energy facilities, especially the billions of dollars worth of investments in natural gas pipelines? What new technologies are coming and even needed that will be part of our decarbonized future? And finally, but certainly not least, what will all of this cost and can we afford it? To help us on the path to answering these questions and to tell us what policies we need to have in place to decarbonize our economy, we have assembled a very accomplished set of state and nationally renowned energy experts. I look forward to hearing them remarks today. Before I introduce our first speakers, I want to make a pitch for an affordable and reliable energy sector. While we now know that carbon emissions can have a significantly deleterious impacts, let us not forget that the modern world was built on energy, supplied primarily by carbon-based fuels. Nothing has done more to move humanity from abject poverty and increase our life expectancy than the modern industrial state powered by abundant and affordable energy. As we move toward a cleaner energy future, I hope our policymakers understand the importance of both reliability and affordability to our economy and our citizens. Reliability and affordability need to be the guardrails of our energy policies. I am confident that if we take the time to make rational, grown-up decisions, that we will both help our planet and help and enhance our standard of living. Hoping that it will work and ignoring these issues is not a serious option. Now it is time to hear from our distinguished speakers.